Welcome into Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast. We appreciate everyone tuning in whenever and however you're watching or listening, whether it's right now live on YouTube and Facebook, archived on either of those platforms, or via Spotify. We are joined this morning by the newest pitching coach at Umbc. Why, you ask? Because that is none other than former East Carolina pitcher Chris Kahler. Chris, welcome into the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and ready to talk about ECU baseball, kind of my path to where I'm at now. And like I said, just looking forward to looking to have a lot of fun and kind of discuss a bunch of different things here.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Very awesome opportunity that you've earned, being a pitching coach at the Division I level, so quickly out of college. But before we dive into that, let's just talk about your time as a Pirate, and even before ECU, you had an excellent career at George Washington that helped you have some great opportunities when you entered the transfer portal. So tell us about your time back in high school and how you earned the opportunity with G-Dub.
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously, like every other high school, you go out there and you're getting to work every day trying to get recruited to play college baseball. While I was a pretty good high school player, nothing crazy. I didn't have the massive frame or anything. I wasn't throwing 90 miles an hour by any means. I was kind of just a crafty righty that would go out there and give you a quality start and really just attack hitters and just pound the zone. So I had some college opportunities. In terms of a bunch of mid majors, things like that. I was projectable in the sense of like I have a pretty tall father, so a lot of schools saw like, hey, he could grow into a frame and really get big and be projectable, but nothing really crazy there in terms of massive schools. But I ended up going to George Washington. I wanted to use baseball to kind of elevate me into a pretty high academic school. I thought that if I can get someone to help pay for a really good degree, that it'd be an awesome opportunity. So I jumped on George Washington. I went up there. I really liked the DC, a little bit different from where I'm from, the city vibe and all that, and the amenities that they could offer me in terms of facilities and things like that, along with the degree. So kind of jumped in and went to George Washington right out of high school, and obviously played 3 years there before transferring and very gratefully to ECU. And that's kind of everything just blossomed there.
Bob, I want to ask him a question. Going back to high school, Chris, what was going on your sophomore year? You didn't play baseball. You played soccer.
So I played soccer and baseball my sophomore year. I did. I was in the fall. I was doing like a little bit of fall baseball and soccer, and then went and was playing varsity in the spring for baseball. But now I love soccer growing up. I played it all the time. It was just a fun little outlet for me. I didn't want to, get too burnt out on baseball because as a kid, you play on multiple different teams down here year round, and there's no break like other places. So it kind of gave me an outlet to also just get away from baseball and do something a little bit different. I was fortunate. I was actually pretty decent at soccer, but not to the standpoint of where I was baseball. But like I said, it was mainly just an outlet to have fun with some friends that also were playing it, and really just, like I said, just have some fun and get away from baseball a little bit too.
Gotcha. I went to high school in Broward County as a freshman, so I know the kind of teams that you were playing, and they were high caliber teams. And as a senior, I think you're selling yourself a little bit short. Unfortunately, it was cut short with the COVID, but I mean, you only pitched 12.2 innings. You had a 0.0 ERA, 23 strikeouts, a win and a save. I mean, who knows what you could have done if the season wasn't shortened.
Absolutely. No, it would have definitely been cool to see how that played out. Obviously, it sucked getting cut short by COVID because you never know what would have happened there in terms of how the season would have went and what you could have done with your high school teammates. But it sucked in that aspect, but there was also a part of me to where I was actually kind of grateful because at the same time when COVID hit and there's such a bad time, Florida was a place I could still really get training. I actually built a mound in my backyard, and it allowed me to really just start prepping for college and get myself in the standpoint of, hey, like, let's get after it. This is something that's going to be the best 4 years of my life where I'm going and what I'm going to plan on doing. And so I was thankful for that aspect of things. But yeah, it was senior year COVID, like prior to COVID from high school standpoint was pretty fun and really, I was fortunate to have a really solid start to the year, but again, that could have went any different way anywhere. So who knows?
Now, Chris, in high school, there at Cool Springs Charter, were you a PO or did you play another position?
So I was mainly a PO. They would give me some few at bats because I would ask to hit nonstop. I kept telling my coach that I would hit nukes if he put me in. That wasn't the case. I wasn't hitting nukes by any means. But he let me hit. I probably got like 10, 15 at bats a year in terms from sophomore, junior, and senior year, somewhere in that range. But mainly a PO. I knew pretty young that if I wanted a ticket to go play college baseball, it was going to be from pitching. So when I was a freshman in high school, I kind of transitioned, like the end of freshman year. I tried out for elite squad baseball down here. I wanted to make their top team. I didn't want to be on one of the lower level teams, and the only way for me, I thought, to do that was try to be a PO. And I was fortunate enough I made it to as a freshman on that team, and kind of just continued on that with the elite squad top team for my entire high school. But after that, it was pretty much just PO in the high school ranks as well. Just that was where I was best. I didn't see a need to potentially maybe go get hurt or do things like that in terms of I wasn't the greatest hitter. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't the greatest. So wanted to focus really on pitching, really get after mechanics and really just, build up to where I could be there.
Now, Chris, back when Paul Maneri was at LSU, this was at least a few years ago, if not several years ago, at the SEC tournament there in Hoover. And one of their pitchers, I don't recall his name, but I'm sure you've probably seen the clip on social media.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he made that comment that you just did to his coach Paul Maneri that he hit nukes because they had a game that went it to extra innings, either that or it's deep in the tournament and they needed a pinch hitter, and he was given the opportunity and produced, and then told Coach Maneri at the post game press conference that he never hit in high school. So that was really funny.
No, absolutely. I wish I would have, had that opportunity. Would I have probably done what he did? Probably not. But that would have been a fun story and opportunity to have there.
Yeah, you think Cliff Godwin would have called your bluff?
Oh yeah, Cliff would have told me hell no. He would have he told me, Kayla, go sit down. You're not just be quiet.
But going to that time at George Washington, you pitched significantly in your first 2 seasons, 15 plus appearances, 30 plus innings in each of those first 2 years. There were some growing pains, but then also obviously, you pitched well at times. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen that amount of work. But then as a junior, you logged over 85 innings, 3 complete games, 4-3 record, 3.57 ERA, and earned second team all A10 honors. What are your memories of that junior year there with the Colonials as they were at the time?
Yeah, no, I had a lot of great memories. Some of those guys, I still talk to pretty much daily here. In terms of just really good friends and really getting after it with them every day. But yeah, it was interesting. I'll kind of start at the beginning of that year. My first ever career start was actually in Clark LeClaire against the Pirates. I will prior to getting down to Greenville, I was pretty nervous. You're getting your first career start, but much less in an environment where you hear it is hectic and crazy, and they're just gonna come after you, right? So for game 1, I didn't start. I was kind of on chart, and as we had the rain out that first day, and we turned into a doubleheader. So I was on the chart for the first half of that first game, and then went to the bullpen and kind of threw in some headphones and just started stretching. But man, the fans, the game wasn't even over, and they were already on me. But thank God I had headphones and I could tune some of it out because I was like, holy crap, this is real. This is something. And as the game progressed, I started off and had a really good first career start against ECU, and I think that's when I had belief in myself going into that I was taking that jump as a pitcher this year. I think that some of my teammates had saw that as well when I pitched against Wake Forest in the fall. but after my first start against ECU, I was like, okay, like this is real. Like I knew I was going to do this, but this is becoming real now. And obviously we didn't get the result we wanted that weekend in terms of beating ECU. They kind of took it to its pretty good there, but I had built off that, and immediately that next weekend I went and I threw a complete game, and I was like, oh crap, like this is going to be a year where I can really make a name for myself, and just started building off that. Obviously, there was a few starts here and there that weren't the greatest. I would have loved to take back and figure out a little bit better, but overall, I had a fantastic year in my eyes, something that I knew I was capable of, but seeing the results of it was phenomenal. Like it was like my hard work is finally really all paying off. I came out of the bullpen one game, and just because we were getting rained out the next day and we weren't going to be able to play, so they used me out of the pen, and that was a whole different atmosphere. I was frustrated because I felt that I should have started that game regardless, just because of the season I was having and the kid they started. But I came out and I was like, I'm going to prove why you should have started me. And that's kind of how I went about it every day. Is I want to prove to everybody that I could do this, and I want to prove everybody wrong, because I know there was a lot of people that doubted me, and a lot of people that really didn't think I was going to be able to go out there and do what I did that year. But I knew deep down that I could, and I kind of just, this sounds a little interesting to say, but it was kind of like I was almost seeking vengeance a little bit. Like I just couldn't, I didn't want to deal with people continue to doubt me every single day. So I went out there with I had something to prove, and I felt like I proved that. Obviously, could I have had an even better season than I was hoping for sure, and put up, but I was pleasantly pleased with the numbers I had. I really felt like everything clicked. All my hard work had finally starting to pay off, and it was starting to show. And I knew that I was going to get myself a chance to go play up in the Cape Cod League after the year. And I started talking to some teams halfway through, and once I got that opportunity, I was like, okay, this is becoming real. This is becoming something that I've really earned and worked for, and it was great. I can't say enough good things about that year at GW. Not even just from the playing side of things, but with my teammates. Like I said, those guys I still talk to all the time, and really, have great relationships with. They had my back. They were there for me when I needed them, and times on and off the field. So a fantastic year, that junior year there, in terms of all around, not just from a playing perspective.
I wanted to add, you didn't mention the fact that you threw 3 complete games. I don't think, but maybe a handful of pitchers in the entire country could match that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it was. There's a lot that I felt that contributed to that. The complete game aspect is there was things I was doing off the field. Like at night I'd go kind of swim in the rec center, kind of just, I wanted to build up my stamina. I felt that was something that would really help me. I took a whole bunch of things to a different level in terms of the mental game, how I'd attack things there, and how I'd get after some things. And I was fortunate enough to where, again, I was a strike thrower. I could keep my pitch count at a reasonable count. Obviously, there were some times that I went a lot higher than I would have liked to as overall. But for the most part, if I could stay in that 100-ish range at a complete game, I was in good shape there. And like I said, it was not something that I intended to do. And once I did it the first time, I actually was talking to a teammate of mine, Chris Knight. We were joking around in the outfield, and I said, man, like I can't. He was like, I can't believe you threw a complete game. I'm like, neither can I. Like I don't even, I don't really understand how that came about, because the first time I was shocked. Like obviously it was a lot of hard work behind it, but you don't go out expecting to throw 9 innings. So I was shocked, taken back, and he laughed at me. He goes, "You're going to do it again in a few weeks here." I said, I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe if some quality starts, but sure enough, it did. And like I said, I was just fortunate enough to be able to pound the strike zone, get ahead early, and obviously have my team have my back in certain cases, help bail me out of some innings there as well.
Gotcha. Hey, one quick question about GW.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in 23, after the baseball season was over, they decided to change their name to the Revolutionaries. Now, me being in Virginia, the Washington papers were pushing for the Hippos.
So,
What did you know about that? I know you have the hippo statue right there.
So it's like it's an unofficial mascot. I'm not entirely sure. Something with like some like hippo political part. I don't really know. I don't understand that thing. They have the statue on campus and everything. I think it's a little the whole thing's a little interesting. Even though I'm no longer there, I'm kind of frustrated they changed away from the Colonials. I love the mascot. I thought it was a great mascot, like a tribute to our country and the people that were there prior and helped get us to where we are now. And even Revolutionaries is still along the same lines for sure. So I'm glad they chose that over the Hippos because I don't think that would I don't think that would have bode well in a lot of situations in terms of when you have people like just calling people hippos. Like I can only imagine what would have happened if the girls swim team was like competing in an event and they said, and here come your lady hippos. Like I just don't like I don't think people thought of the ramifications of that at some point. Like I don't know. It's interesting to me. I don't really understand it, but that's me personally.
Hey, Bubba, I lied. I said that was my final question. This is it, and then I'm finished.
No, you're good. You're fine. You're fine, JR.
Okay, so many people don't even realize that GW plays their home games in Virginia. Can you just describe a little bit what it's like crossing the Potomac River and playing your home games at Tucker Park?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely interesting when you grow up and dream about being a Division I baseball player. You think you're going to places like ECU, Coastal, like the SEC, ACC, when you have these massive stadiums with thousands of people in there, right? In these wild environments. And that's only true for the handful of places that are like that. Like East Carolina, like it's just it's so incredible what they've been able to build and what the Pirate fan base has been able to build. And it's not like that everywhere. And I think that's a common misconception with the guys. So like every high school, you're assuming that. And I get to GW and the facilities are phenomenal for a small school. They really renovated. They really had some donors come in and help out in that respect. And so obviously not being on campus was interesting, having to take the white vans over to from DC to a 15-20 minute drive over to the field there. But it's a great ballpark. It's there's some Little League fields in the back and other like basketball courts and things like that. But they've done a good job, like in essence, secluding it a little bit and really trying to give you that college baseball feel for sure. Like there's no energy there in terms of fan base, really, like ECU or any other place like that. It's all coming from the dugout. So, but the facilities and how they like manicure the place is always up to par, always really good, and they do a good job with that. Like I said, I was super fortunate enough to be a part of that and really get after it there every single day. Because when you see some college fields you play at in conference and other places, you realize you're grateful for what you have. So that was always a great part of that.
Awesome.
So, Chris, following that 2023 season at GW, you mentioned you had the opportunity to pitch in the Cape. Talk about that opportunity and just also the decision to enter the transfer portal and the process that led you to ECU.
Yeah, absolutely. So once I got up to the Cape, I had been thinking for the weeks after the season ended about potentially entering the transfer portal. I wasn't a guy that was going in the portal seeking NIL money. I'm not about that. I never was. I kind of wanted to, if I enter the portal, it was because I wanted to go somewhere that I think could help develop me and help, put me on a stage to where I could get seen at the chance to play pro ball. And if I didn't end up playing pro ball, that, I at least could lay my head on a pillow at night and say, hey, like I gave everything I got. And if that's the end of my career, that's the end of my career. But I wanted to go somewhere where, you had that big field environment. I wanted to go somewhere where you could really get after it every day, develop, be around guys that are like-minded that wanted to win. I was fortunate, again, I was blessed to be able to play Division I baseball, but I was never on a team that made the conference tournament, much less the NCAA tournament and hosting a regional. And that was something that was huge to me. I wanted to experience that. So went up to the Cape, blessed. I got to start up there on my outings. Prior to that first outing, like 2 days before, I entered the transfer portal. And really didn't know what to expect entirely, but I knew what I wanted. My parents were obviously hesitant, as any parent might be at times, just because, hey, you're so close to finishing your degree, and who knows what's going to happen, right? But they supported me, they backed me the whole way, and I went in and started hearing from all different sorts of schools, and I knew that in the back of my mind, I had a little thing. I was like, if ECU reached out, this would be awesome. Like after experiencing that of seeing what the environment was like, this could be something that would be so cool. Sure enough, Coach Knight reached out a few days, or I think it was 2 days after I entered the portal. And we hopped on the phone pretty much immediately that next day. And things kind of just went from there. He flew up to the Cape to see me and watch me pitch, and it all blossomed from there. A few weeks later, I was on my visit down to ECU, and the rest is history. It was, like I said, ECU is a place where I could see myself. I wanted to come a little bit closer to home down in the South, and it was a place where I knew that I could develop and really get better each and every day. I'd be put in a position to be seen by scouts if that was something that I proved that I could do, and potentially move on to the next level. But also, I just want to be a part of a winning culture in a place that there was a big environment. And ECU provided that. A big thing to me is Coach Godwin at AK and Palumbo. When I met with them on my visit, they obviously they cared about what I could do on the field, or otherwise they wouldn't be recruiting me. They obviously have a way of doing things to be a winning program and how they go about there. But the thing that stuck out to me is you could tell they just didn't want me for a baseball purpose. You could tell they cared about you and the rest of the team off the field as well, and what you can do in life. That you could tell they want to, when you come in there, they want to make you a better man than when you first walk on campus. And I felt they did that. I felt like they really helped get me to that respect and be a person that I am today. And it hasn't stopped. I still, I'll talk to them if I need advice, or when things are going through the regional, shooting them text, good luck, go kick their ass today, and really get after it. But they're great people that really invested in me on and off the field. So I can't, I'm so thankful that I became a Pirate. Obviously, I would have, loved to have a better, statistical time there and been a little bit of a better pitcher, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. But like I said, I'm beyond blessed to have been a part of that year at ECU hosting a regional and really getting after it every single day and being a part of Pirate Nation and getting to experience what that's all about.
With your current position of the pitching coach there at Umbc, and we'll go into a little more detail of how that came to be, but just the influence of Austin Knight, also Heath Blackmon, who was the director of player development, but is now the new pitching coach at App State. Tell Pirate Nation how those two men impacted you. You talk about as far as becoming a man, but just specifically on the pitching side of things.
No, absolutely. It was a huge impact. I think that when I first met Coach Knight, initially it was I really trusted him, obviously, and I think that he could bring a lot to the table for me as a player. But he also helped, him and Heath helped bring, different things to light for me. I learned a lot at ECU. I learned a lot of things that I wasn't exposed to. I'd never been exposed to TrackMan before. The analytic aspect of it, obviously, I knew what it was and had a super basic understanding. But they opened my eyes to that and how you could utilize that as a tool to become better. They really opened up to, I was a guy that was really focused on mechanics. I'm not a huge, tall dude by any means. So I felt like if I wanted to get the most out of my body and be efficient with velocity, I had to do that. So I did study mechanics pretty hard, but they they helped open my eyes to certain things there, and really in terms of like throwing programs and getting on things to make your body healthy, lifting, and really getting after it, all the aspects you don't think of on a daily basis. You go out there, a lot of times you throw a ball and people think that's exactly what you're just doing, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes and video breakdowns and things like that. And they took some time to really go over all that stuff with me, and I had just going over my mechanics and going over my pitch design, all that stuff. So after spending some time doing that, I had a lot more understanding about, like, from a coach's perspective, how you would break things down, how would you go about things, how would you structure throwing programs and things like that. And both Heath and AK, they were phenomenal with that. They really took the time to invest in you and teach you. And if you didn't understand things, they were completely open to answering questions. Now, I'm a guy that asks a lot of questions myself, so I'm sure that AK and Heath at some times were like, holy crap, this Kahler kid needs to stop with the questions. But they never expressed being frustrated, annoyed, or anything. They were always happy to help explain things and why you do them and for what reasons. And I think that was a huge thing for me. It opened my eyes to a lot of different things that I hadn't had before, and tools that I hadn't had before.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Many times I would have classmates or teammates pissed off because I would ask so many questions, but you mentioned AK and everything that he brought to you, and just the environment at East Carolina compared to George Washington because of more resources being able to be devoted to the baseball program. And whether it's Austin Knight, Heath Blackmon, or other coaches you've had in your past, how did the things that they taught you develop the philosophy and the way you're going to attack things at UMBC?
For sure. No, so I think I have a very unique perspective being young and one, like having so many different coaches through my time. I had two pitching coaches at GW and AK and Heath, so technically 4 pitching coaches as a whole there, plus what I was exposed to up in the Cape and the NECBL. And so I've seen a lot of different ways to attack things and different philosophies there. And I think that, there's definitely things you could take from every single guy that that leaves a mark with you, because again, it's baseball. There's no wrong way to attack things. There's so many different ways to go about it and get the outcome you're wanting. But I really liked what we did at ECU. I really liked how we attacked things. I really liked how we got after it on a daily basis. So obviously, the culture that ECU has and the winning mentality and how you handle your business each and every day, there's something to be said about that. There's a reason that ECU is a perennial powerhouse and a team that nobody wants to play, because even, when ECU is not having their best year, they're feared. There's a reason for that, because it's blue collar, gritty, really getting down and after it every single day. You're never scared of anybody, and no team in the country wants to play the Pirates. It's a tough draw every time you play them, and that's kind of like what I want to instill in our guys, especially the pitchers at UMBC, is like the way we attack things when I was at ECU and the way we practiced and we carried ourselves like professionals and mature human beings on and off the field. Like, that's the group we need to be. That's how we need to attack things on a daily basis. Right. It's, if you want to be good, you want to win, you have to act and emulate that. And I think ECU did a great job of that. Is obviously we won a lot and we had a lot of success, but I don't think that's because of any reason other than obviously we were talented, but the way we handled ourselves each day, the way we went about our business each day, the way we practiced, the way we played, that it was never a break. There was never a dull moment in terms of, hey, we're taking today off. Like, no, we're going to get after it. And that's what I want to instill in our guys. That's what I want to instill. I want them to understand that if you want to win, we have to act a certain way. We have to practice a certain way. We have to play a certain way. And that doesn't mean we get to take breaks whenever we want. That means that it's full throttle, 24/7, 7 days a week, and really getting after it.
During that 2024 season, you had the opportunity to be part of a very special season for Trey Savage, and especially the way he battled adversity there at the end and then bounced back with just almost a heroic performance against Wake Forest and Chase Burns. And then there were other quality arms, too many to name, but guys, veterans like Danny Bill, Wyatt Lunsford, Shinkman, who are now still pitching in professional baseball. Danny just kind of had a rubber arm, so to speak. He logged so many innings, whether it was short relief, mid and long relief. He pitched in a variety of roles, and here in pro ball, Danny started off as a starter, and he has since shifted back to the role that he felt more comfortable with. Where the Bird Dogs there in Kinston are using an opener, and then he's coming into the game in the second or third inning. So whether it was being a teammate, and I know you did similar things yourself, where you were a reliever and then you became a starter. Just having done those things and been a part of teams where guys did those things very successfully, I know that will allow you to have a good knowledge base when you have guys on your staff that are maybe taking on those roles.
For sure. No, absolutely. I think that, again, like I said, given I'm young, it's I have a very unique perspective and understanding. Like I'm fresh out of college within almost 2 years here, a year here, but it's interesting. I think that I obviously can relate to these guys, but I know what they've been through. I know what they how you go about your business, and I've seen guys that have had a lot of success do so, and there's a reason for that. So I think, like I said, it's good that I have that perspective. I had teammates that have done that, kind of done every different role. I was kind of a utility arm myself too, where it was, I was doing a little bit of everything. So I think that being able to relate to them and be able to give them some advice in terms of that is going to be huge for sure.
And Chris, as we begin to wind this conversation down, and seeing the success that a Atreya Savage is having, he's already risen to Double-A, and it could very well be in the big leagues by the end of the year with the season that the Blue Jays are having, because he has the type of stuff, swing and miss variety that could be of benefit to them. So seeing that, do you still have any conversations with Trey? And obviously now he's very busy, but just whether it's picking his brain or other former teammates and using that knowledge to benefit you in your current role.
So I actually have not gotten to talk to Trey a whole lot. Obviously he's doing his whole thing there. He's super busy in what's going on there, and whatnot. But no, obviously there's, when time for him winds down in terms of the playing stuff for the year. I know it's a long season, but I would definitely love to pick his brain a little bit, obviously see what, was going on for him. He's having success for a reason, right? It's not by accident that he's going out there doing what he's doing every day. And that's definitely a guy that I would love to pick his brain and get in touch with in terms of giving him a ring and really just, talking some shop in baseball a little bit here. But yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of guys that, you can pick brains about, like teammates from ECU, teammates from GW that are playing as well, and teammates of mine from when I was growing up that are now in the bigs and really getting after it there, or in the minors and having success too. So I think that, whether it's Trey or other teammates, I think that being able to pick their brains and see what they do to have a lot of success and how they go about it, I think that's going to be very crucial for me. Exposing myself to a whole bunch of different philosophies and how people go about things is really going to help mold me into who I am as a coach, and help just build that knowledge base that I know I already have, but just continue to expand and improve on a daily basis.
Whether it was growing up or currently, did you have a favorite MLB team?
Yeah. Sadly, it's the Marlins. Being from down here, it's not a program or a organization that's, had a ton of success. Obviously, the past, couple of weeks here, they've been playing really well, which is phenomenal. It's nice to see, but nothing, besides that, I've followed them and kind of see what they've done, the hometown team, and how they go about it. Obviously, being friends with Ethan and seeing his brother be out there. Obviously, I know he's hurt right now, but seeing his brother out there is pretty cool. Hey, I know that guy. He's brothers with a teammate of mine, and obviously an ECU alum, and having the coach be a ECU alum as well is pretty cool to see. And when talking to my friends, I'm like, yeah, my school is well represented here, fellas. It's that they're doing some great things there. So obviously proud of that, and seeing them be on my hometown team is pretty special too.
Yeah, pretty cool that you have a couple of Pirates to pull for there with Clayton McCullough and Connor Norby. But growing up, or currently, who were those pitchers that you really emulated or you admired the way they went about their business and the success they had? Because for me, it was guys like a Greg Maddux that didn't throw particularly hard, but the way he located and had command of his pitches.
No, absolutely. That is definitely a guy that I never got to see him throw, but there's obviously videos you could watch on YouTube and things like that. That is definitely a guy that I wanted to try to replicate in a sense. He threw multiple pitches for strikes at a whole different bunch of speeds, was very crafty and really just picked the corners. And for a guy that, growing up, that you want to emulate that, especially when you're not the flamethrower of the group. So it was kind of him. Obviously, you enjoy watching the guys growing up, and even now, I love watching Ballsky. It's probably my favorite pitcher to watch. But I wasn't that guy, so I wasn't gonna try to emulate that for sure. But yeah, even to this day, I love watching Skeens. I love watching Sonny Gray. I know that's probably a different name than a lot of people would say, but he keeps his pitch counts low. He goes deep into games and throws multiple pitches for strikes and paints the corners. So that's kind of who I'd say that those are the two that I enjoy watching the most for sure at the current moment. Just because one is just a phenom on the mound, and the other one's a guy that just consistently goes out there each and every day and puts together quality starts, and really I can relate to a little bit better myself as a pitcher and things like that, and just shows that you don't need to throw 100 in order to get outs. So that's obviously a good guy to watch too.
JR, I know you had some numbers that you like to pitch to Chris.
I don't want to close the show without mentioning that Chris was part of a rare no-hitter for the Pirates. I think we've only had maybe 12 or 13, something like that. But against Elon, it was you, Jaden Winter, and Parker Thomas. No hits.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Only one of my career where I've ever been a part of one of those. So that was definitely something, I look back on and am very fortunate to be a part of. Very, very special game there. I know there wasn't, I believe it wasn't a full 9 innings. I think it was 7.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah, but still,
you're
still pretty cool.
It still counts. It's in the record book.
Absolutely.
And then I noticed that
JR, you probably recall this. Was it the very next game or a couple games later we ruled Charlotte and no hit them as well?
Oh yeah. I can't actually confirm that without looking, but I don't know if it was the next game or not. Yeah, but that was the case. It was really cool. Hey, I noticed that you actually pitched against the Retrievers. And the 2-0 shutout, you were part of that. Was it the same coaching staff that was there when you pitched?
Yeah. So ironically, it was actually my first ever offer out of high school was UMBC. The guy who I'm now working for is the head coach at UMBC, was the pitching coach at the time. He offered me out of high school. It wasn't the right situation as a whole for me at the time. So obviously, I went a different direction then, but he was the coach at the school when we played against them. I think I forget whether that was my sophomore year maybe. I pitched against them, but same guy. that recruited me back then is now my boss, ironically. But yeah, no, it's he's I don't know about the rest of the staff. I don't know if the rest of the staff's the same, but I know Coach Bowen is the same.
Pretty cool.
He's been there for quite a while, so that's obviously an interesting thing to happen. Kind of come full circle there.
Okay, two more quick ones. In your entire college career, you never committed a fielding error. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I've really prided myself. I used to tell people I was a shortstop, even though again I'd never be able to play shortstop. You put me in a game. I tried to pride myself as being a shortstop, having that shortstop mentality on the mound. So, like I said, I like to think of myself as a shortstop. Think of myself as like a Andrelton Simmons back in the day, where he was just a phenomenal fielder. But again, you put me at shortstop, I promise you, I'm not making those range plays or anything by any means. But it was that was pretty cool to say, is be able to hang my head on as I had a perfect fielding percentage.
There you go. Okay, my last one is pretty much a useless stat, but interesting nonetheless. Okay, so Virginia Commonwealth, their shortstop William Bean and their right fielder Cooper Benson, you struck them out a combined 6 times, and you did it as both a Colonial and a Pirate. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yes, no, that was when we got matched up with VCU in the regional. Obviously, I was slated to start against them when we had they came to us, but we got rained out both days. When we got matched up with them, I was pretty excited because my hate for the VCU Rams did not change when I came to the Pirates. They were a team we did not like at GW, and when I came to ECU and I knew we'd get to play them, that hate did not change. And so when we played them, we got matched up in the region. I was super, super excited about that and really get after it. Obviously, I would have loved to have a little bit better outing in the regional against them, given I did have a success against them throughout my career. And at the end there, they got to me, which sucks. But that was pretty cool to be able to face them in 2 different uniforms. And obviously, we beat them there. We knocked them out as a team, so that's what matters. And obviously, I was glad to do so. Kick them to the curb, send them back to Richmond there, and go do it, and they can watch on TV.
Outstanding. That's it for me, Bubba.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up about Coach Bowen, because Coach Bowen and just how that relationship began, Chris. Because he's been there at UMBC now for 15 years, not as a head coach. He'll be entering his 7th year as head coach this upcoming season. But prior to becoming the head coach, he was a pitching coach himself. So that's a great resource to have.
Absolutely. No, and I think he's been kind of, when I jump into it head first, he's been a great resource to kind of bounce ideas off of, kind of learn how he does some things and really, understand, because, and no matter where you are in college baseball, when you do it for a certain period of time, you're obviously having some sort of success in doing so. And there's a reason why you're in the position you are. So being able to utilize him as someone who's been around the program and how he does things. And again, he's been there for quite some time, which is phenomenal. So being able to bounce ideas and learn under him is a great resource. And especially as a former pitching coach, there's things to do that I could talk to him about and kind of get his advice for as well on a daily basis, and just, expand that network of people that could really help.
And in the 2012 season, prior to him, the pitching coach, if I'm not mistaken, Tigers had an ERA of over 9 in a matter of 3 seasons. They had one of the top ERAs for just a little over 3. So that was remarkable.
Absolutely.
But a couple fun questions as we wrap this up. I talked about your favorite team being the Marlins, and who are some of those favorite pitchers that you had growing up and currently. But what was your favorite baseball
movie? Baseball movie. Oh, that's a good one. Probably just have to go with like the classic, like The Sandlot. And the older I get, it still doesn't, it still hits the same for me. It's a good movie, good fun movie, a family movie in terms of baseball. There.
Have you ever used the phrase "killing me"? You're killing me, Smalls, with one of your.
You cut out there. What'd you say?
I just said, have you ever used the phrase "you're killing me, Smalls" with one of your players?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm sure that
Not
will, that will, I'm sure, arise here pretty soon. But no, I haven't at the moment.
And then obviously you spend so much of your time centered around the game of baseball. But when it's not baseball, what are the things that Chris Kahler enjoys doing to relax and have fun?
No, absolutely. I love getting quality family time and getting to be with my family and hang out with them and really enjoy that time, especially as been away for a while. I have a pretty tight knit relationship with my sister and my parents, so that's obviously a really good. And obviously, I getting to see my girlfriend as well as things I like to do there. But I really also, and beyond just those two things, I love to fish and hang out with my friends and do that and relax. I really like to just be at peace with what's going on and everything there. And I think fishing's a great way to do that. And beyond that, just whether it's it's my life centered around baseball, whether that's turning on the TV, watching an MLB game or any other sports that are on, whether that be football, basketball, hockey. Like I'm a huge hockey fan, so that's been awesome to be down here in Florida at this time. But I just like to be with my family, my friends, the girlfriend, and really just relax. And obviously, if I can get out and fish and do so down here in Florida when I have the Everglades right here in the ocean, it's always nice. But have to find some new fishing spots up north there now that I'm heading up that way. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris, we appreciate you spending 45 minutes with us here on a Saturday morning, and Pirate Nation will definitely be pulling for you and keep an eye on what's going on with the Umbc Retrievers over the next several years.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you guys for having me, and likewise, just even though we'll be in a Retrievers uniform there coaching and whatnot, we'll always be a Pirate at heart, always be following the Pirates and rooting for them and hopefully see them continue the success they've been having and get over that hump and get to Omaha here real soon. And once that happens, I'll be making a trip out to see the fellas and see the Pirates really get after it and hopefully go win it.
All right.
Certainly, that first trip to Omaha will be something, a sight to behold. But Pirate Nation, we appreciate you tuning in. Follow us on social media at Jungle Tales Pod on X, Instagram, and YouTube. We can also be found on Facebook and Spotify. Go back and check out our channel on YouTube, and we have conversations with several of the incoming Pirates from the portal, as well as former Pirates such as Chris Kahler. But that will do it for this edition of Jungle Tales. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Pirates.